For those folks who are watching who are not in Bitcoin or are thinking about buying Bitcoin at these prices, are you saying that this is a fair and good price to get in?
Bitcoin's down roughly 15% from its highs, which for a hyper-volatile asset is a pretty normal correction, and it is slightly following global liquidity, but we're pretty early in this halving cycle. So to me, I think Bitcoin in the near term, again, our technician thinks 70,000 is where we can sort of make a stand. Means you're getting a big opportunity, because I think Bitcoin's going to be one of the best performing assets.
So hold on, but you still think it goes all the way down to 70,000, or you think that's the floor, in which case you would still buy at this price?
You know, Bitcoin is something you need to be long-term focused. I don't think anyone's going to lose money buying here at 90. If they're trying to time this, maybe they'll get lucky and it goes to 70, but to me, Bitcoin could be significantly higher this year, you know, maybe 200, 250.
Financial analyst and Bitcoin advocate Tom Lee shares his prediction for Bitcoin investors, forecasting a massive influx of $400 trillion into Bitcoin following the 2024 halving. Lee believes this event will trigger an explosive surge in price, similar to previous all-time highs. Currently, Bitcoin is trading just above $95,000, having risen over 6% in the past month. Lee anticipates that Bitcoin is on the verge of making history with one of its biggest price increases yet. The story gains even more significance in 2025 due to the rise of Bitcoin ETFs, with thousands of institutional investors in the US now buying Bitcoin. This surge in demand is outpacing daily supply, creating an unprecedented supply-demand imbalance that, according to Lee, will soon change everything. Before we continue with the rest of the video, do check out Daily 5-Minute Crypto Newsletter with all the latest crypto and Bitcoin news. It's a fantastic analysis of on-chain crypto data and breakdowns, and the best part is it's absolutely free. They'll cover expert predictions, breakdowns of on-chain crypto data, and any breaking news you need to know, all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description and enter your email to join over 50,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now.
I think Bitcoin is something you don't want to own if you believe there's another way to measure trust. I think that's many years away, because even the United States may potentially own Bitcoin as a reserve asset. That is a huge endorsement of the security of the Bitcoin blockchain.
What do you think your Bitcoin percentage ought to be in sort of a model portfolio?
I generally don't try to advise people on allocation because how much someone puts into bonds, and bonds are less risky, depends on their tolerance for risk and their age, and also how much money is in the stock market versus their total net worth. So those are three variables that I don't know, and that's why we don't usually advise an allocation mix. But I can say that we've recommended initially, when we first wrote about Bitcoin, that investors put 1% into Bitcoin. And if they didn't sell that Bitcoin, even with the stock market gains, it's now 40% of their portfolio. Our second suggestion was 0.5% into Bitcoin. Today, we're recommending at least 2 to 5% into Bitcoin, but that is as a commodity or alternative exposure, because if they invest 2 to 5% of their money and somehow crypto goes to zero, they didn't lose everything. But if Bitcoin reaches some of the targets we expect, then Bitcoin could end up becoming 50% of their portfolio again.
Being a very strong Bitcoin bull with a 1 year and 5 year forecast, if you'd like to tell the audience what you're thinking they might be and why you feel so strongly about Bitcoin.
To us, Bitcoin represents one of the most trusted assets in the world, because we're living in a digital age where AI and cybersecurity threats have really undermined trust in both dealing with each other, but also in financial institutions. The Bitcoin blockchain is still the most secure ledger in the world. It has not had a single hack in its 14-year history. And that means the price of Bitcoin represents the value of trust in a trustless world. We've been recommending Bitcoin for 8 or 9 years, and it remains, in our view, a core asset. If we look at the price performance of Bitcoin, and we do have to look at price because it's a measure of its trust, it's following very closely previous halving cycles. and that implies Bitcoin should be around 100 to 150,000 in the near term, but could easily get close to 500,000 in 5 years. At 500,000 per Bitcoin, it would still be less than the value of gold today. And I think Bitcoin will surpass the value of gold, which would put the value much closer to $1 million per Bitcoin.
With unwavering enthusiasm for the Bitcoin space, Tom Lee confidently predicts explosive growth is on the horizon. As major players like BlackRock and other crypto giants dive into the market, Lee reassures that the long-awaited surge will soon unfold as 2025 begins.
Given the results of the election and what we know so far about the cabinet picks, what is your view on how the markets look and what they might be in 2025 in terms of equities, in terms of bond yields, crypto, as well as commodities, if you take those in turn?
Trump is one of the most market-friendly presidents ever, meaning he's going to focus very much on and rate his presidency based on how the stock market does. And so that's good for investors, because if he introduces policies that worry markets, like deficits too big or tariffs too aggressive, he'll see it in the stock prices. I think the safest way to navigate this from our perspective is to focus on things that we all agree he'll pursue. Deregulation, pro-business and market-friendly, which means financials and small caps, but he does want to make the government more efficient and even do tariffs. So I think multinationals are a little more challenging, and industrials like defense would be challenging, and of course negative for healthcare and energy. And then from a crypto perspective, it's clear to me that he's pursuing a very pro-digital assets platform. I mean, he ran on the idea of Bitcoin potentially becoming a reserve asset. Almost all of his key advisors are large owners of Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin is going to be very central to the White House initiatives over the next 4 years, which of course is positive for Bitcoin. Over the next 4 years, there is a White House put. If the stock market starts to fall, this is going to drive some action or communication from the White House. As you know, whenever there's been a Fed put, when the Fed is dovish, then investors are confident buying stocks regardless of circumstances, because they know the Fed is protecting the stock market. Over the next 4 years, we might have both a White House put and a Fed put. I think that's very positive for stocks. I wouldn't overthink it. We've followed crypto for 7-8 years now, and we've seen many what they call altcoins come and go. I think the most important thing to think about if you're going to buy altcoins is, number one, if you're investing in an altcoin, you should measure how useful that token is or the size of the community. But the second thing to keep in mind is that when crypto is in what they call crypto season, when it's in a bullish cycle, the altcoins do very well. So if Bitcoin can go from 90,000 to 500,000, many altcoins will do better, but those are not investments, those are trades.
Tom Lee challenges traditional economic metrics, arguing that they are often manipulated to push specific narratives, such as labor statistics and inflation figures. The increasing adoption of Bitcoin by governments, institutions, and the media reflects growing recognition of its value. However, Lee believes this is just the beginning, comparing the early stages of Bitcoin to the current widespread interest, especially with Bitcoin ETFs now in focus. He sees this as a significant development in the financial ecosystem, contrasting Bitcoin's role as an alternative to the manipulated traditional financial system. Lee further emphasizes that major corporations like Apple, Amazon, and Google are poised to leverage their established relationships to acquire substantial amounts of Bitcoin through spot ETFs, bypassing the lengthy processes involved in purchasing the actual asset. This shift highlights the transformative potential of cryptocurrencies in traditional financial institutions. Meanwhile, Michael Saylor stresses the importance of embracing digital currencies as the economic landscape rapidly evolves. He urges investors to recognize Bitcoin's potential to secure a more prosperous financial future. What are your thoughts on Tom Lee's interview? How do you think Bitcoin's trajectory over the next few months will impact the crypto market and the broader investment world? For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.